Hello again, this is Victor James, author of that new book in the megacosm called The Narikomin that is available wherever books are sold, so get your copy now. When I made my Broken Angel Felix Gaeta video, I hinted that there was probably one other in the Battlestar Galactica remake who had a more tragic story than his, and that was Admiral Cain. However, while researching her backstory for this video, I've kind of changed my mind. She's not really a broken angel, but a fallen hero. But, to get to know Admiral Cain, you have to go back to her past, which was told in the Battlestar Galactica movie, Razor. Cain was born and raised on Tauron, and lived through the final days of the First Cylon War. The Cylons had ruthlessly attacked the planet, killing her mother and her father who tried to save her and her sister Lucy. When her father was injured, and with his dying breaths, he charged Helena to guide her sister to shelter. And Cain did as she was told, until Lucy fell and could no longer run. As her sister begged Cain for her help, she chose to save her own life and leave Lucy behind, her sister's scream echoing behind her as she ran away. Finding shelter in a nearby storage container, Cain was nearly captured by a Centurion. To defend herself, she picked up a razor and held it up to the Centurion to make a final stand. Instead, the armistice was signed between humans and Cylons, and the machine allowed her to live. As Cain emerged from the storage container and searched for her sister Lucy, she finds the doll and looks up, realizing that the Cylons had stolen her sister. This one traumatic event shaped how Cain saw the world, that one must put self-preservation above everything else, that she must become strong as a razor to survive. And Cain carried this mentality through her time in the colonial military, rising to the ranks until she became Rear Admiral and commander of the Pegasus. As a leader, Cain was smart, capable, competent, and a highly decorated officer before the Second Silent War began. As fate would have it, the Pegasus was docked at the Scorpio Fleet shipyard when the Cylons attacked the colonies, striking that facility with a nuclear device. The Pegasus was there preparing for shore leave and was completely unequipped for combat as battlestars exploded around them. Making her first command decision during the war, Cain ordered Lieutenant Shaw to blind jump the ship away, saving it from the follow-up nuclear explosions, but also losing 700 crew members who either died in the attacks or were left behind. After overseeing the repairs of the Pegasus, Cain was resolute to return the attacks to the Cylons, targeting a Cylon communication relay. Colonel Belzen, her XO and second in command, was against the military actions, and his thoughts actually proved prophetic. During the attack, the Pegasus fell into a Cylon trap, attacked by a large contingent of Cylon raiders. Cain responded by ordering Lieutenant Belzen to counterattack by launching all Viper squadrons aboard the Pegasus, which was a death sentence not only for the outmatched Vipers, but for the Pegasus as well. Belzen refused the command, and Cain ordered him to give up his sidearm. Yet, instead of relinquishing Belzen of his command, Cain shoots her XO in the head, sending a message to the entire bridge that her command was absolute. Cain field promotes a frightened Major Fisk as her new XO, and he immediately launches the counterattack she ordered, which led to raiders boarding the ship and slaughtering the crew, and Pegasus barely escapes the trap with another jump. But during the pitched battles in the Pegasus halls, Lieutenant Shaw had discovered that the Cylons had human-looking spies, and was able to prove that the computer technician, Gina Envier, was a Cylon Model 6. This was another turning point in Cain's life, as Gina was someone Cain counted on during the repairs and reconstruction of the Pegasus. And as a secret lover, Gina was someone Cain trusted and allowed into her inner circle. Gina's betrayal hit Cain hard, and eroded a piece of Cain's humanity. And this is when Cain didn't just bend her moral duties, but shattered them completely when she ordered Gina to be interrogated with advanced techniques. This included beatings, torture, and gang rapes by her men, led by Lieutenant Thorne. Things only spiraled further with Cain's command when they found a civilian refugee flotilla. Sensing an opportunity, Cain ordered her men to strip the ships of anything useful, their jump drives and their weapons, and to draft any useful civilian to the Pegasus for the threat of execution to any family of a selectee who didn't comply. When the civilians begin to riot and still refuse Cain's orders, Lieutenant Shaw kills 2 families to force the civilians to fall in line. Cain actually admired her dedication to duty and self-preservation, and took the lieutenant under her wing to make her more cold and logical, just like her.
Sometimes we have to do things that we never thought we were capable of. If only to show the enemy our will. When you can be this, for as long as you have to be, then you're a razor.
Instead of rescuing the flotilla that had 15 civilian ships and forming an escort fleet like Adama had chosen to do, the Pegasus left the flotilla and the remaining civilians behind, marooned and defenseless against the Cylons. Helena Cain was a mirror of Admiral Adama, cold, militaristic, authoritarian, with a singular focus of survival at any cost. 6 months after the war began, and as Cain and the Pegasus search for new targets, she runs into the Galactica and its fleet of civilian ships. The sight of another Battlestar brought a sense of relief to both crews, who celebrated the new firepower, but Cain saw the reunion as providence, with the new fleet being nothing more than new resources for her military plans. Outranking Adama, Cain quickly took command over the Galactica, replenishing its stores with those from the Pegasus, all while ignoring her civilian commander, President Laura Roslyn's request to aid the civilian ships as well. As the Pegasus and Galactica crews mingled, the Galactica crew began to learn the dark history of the Pegasus, especially from a broken and frightened XO Fisk who relayed how Cain had shot Belzen for disobeying her orders. The Galactica crew also began noticing the breakdown of structure from the Pegasus crew. Cain had allowed an illegal black market to flourish from her XO Fisk, while her chief engineer was completely incompetent, which led many to complain to Adama about his performance. Adama noticed the breakdown of order as well, but was bound by duty and integrity to follow Cain's orders. Yet, with all the problems between the crews, things were going relatively well for the reunited colonial ships. That wasn't until they noticed a strange shell on ships on their data system. To find out what that ship was, Cain allowed the degenerate genius Dr. Gaius Baltar to interrogate the 6th model Gina. Being the scumbag that he is, Baltar falls in love with the broken Gina, who gives information on the resurrection ship and the deplorable torture she was forced to endure from the Pegasus crew. Galactica personnel Carl Agathon and Chief Galen Tyrrell exchanged words with the Terror Master Lieutenant Thorn for his inhumane treatment of Gina, which led to an altercation that left Thorn dead, and Cain was enraged. Cain ordered the deaths of Agathon and Tyrrell for killing Thorn, which finally broke Adama's military bearing. Cain begins to quarrel with Adama over the treatment of his men, and she begins to suspect that he's closer to her former XO Belzen than the loyal Fisk. Although they work together to take out the Cylon resurrection ship in a joint operation, Cain plans to have Adama assassinated after the conclusion of the operation, unaware that Adama had put into motion his own plan for her assassination. Yet there was still a spark of humanity left in Admiral Cain. She cancels the assassination of Adama after witnessing what humanity could accomplish together by taking out the resurrection ship. And for a moment you get the sense that maybe Cain and Adama could work out their differences and lead humanity to a better future. That is until the intolerable Gaius Baltar once again has empathy for the enemy. Feeling that Gina deserved revenge for her torture, Baltar helps her escape. Mentally broken, Gina kills her guard and sneaks away to Cain's room. But with a stiff back and unflinching in her demeanor, Cain refuses to beg for her life, tearing up as the Cylon executes her, bringing an end to Cain's reign of terror. By the time of her murder, Admiral Cain had become a tyrant, a far cry from the decorated military officer who rose through the ranks to earn her command. Cain lived her life trying to justify that decision she made as a child to leave her sister behind to save her own life. By living with that mantra to survive by any means, Cain compromised her moral principles until there was almost nothing left. But Cain was no coward. Her ultimate goal was to take the battle to the Cylons and keep humanity alive, but only the humans she deemed worthy of saving. If a person cannot contribute to the war or did not add to the civilian resources, they were expendable in Cain's eyes. She ruled her men by fear and with an iron grip, with execution or order away if they didn't follow her orders to the letter. Yet, even with her strict allegiance to military order, Cain allowed the men of the Pegasus to fracture the structure with their vicious torture of the Cylon prisoner and the running of a black market beneath her nose. She allowed these events because it curried a bit of loyalty, and that was all Cain demanded of her men. Helena Cain did not begin as a villain, and given her high rank and survival instincts, she could have been a hero comparable to Adama. She could have taken command of the fleet and led humanity to Earth with 2 fully armed Battlestars and battle-hardened crews. But that one decision as a child spoiled Cain's soul, hardened her heart until she continually sought justification for her decision to choose her survival over her sisters. And that's why Admiral Cain isn't a broken angel, but a fallen hero. And I wanted to remind you about my website, themegacosm.com. Here you can keep up with the latest information about the Megacosm, as well as read short stories for free. As an added bonus, I have the first chapters of my novels for free as well, just so you can read a sample and decide later if you want to buy the novel. I also have links to the articles I write for Bleeding Fool, and I have recently launched a Megacosm merch store with t-shirts that feature the Fiasco logo as well as my publishing imprint. And I also have baby onesies because, well, they just look cool cosplaying as Fiasco. But God bless you and keep you. That's it, I'm done.